I'm gonna get all the bullshit to the fire. Ask the ancestors for guidance, assistance, protection. Y'all don't start that. We're gonna talk about the heart today, y'all. Peace and blessings, wholeness and health, love and light. Peace and blessings, wholeness and health, love and light. Peace and blessings, love, wholeness and health, love and light. To one and to all. We're gonna talk about the heart today. Try to help us get our heart right. As always, I looked it up. I know when I looked it up, it was gonna give me a definition about the organ, heart as the organ. But we've been living long enough to know that even though we got a organ that's called the heart, we also have another heart. But anyway, I'm gonna read the definition. A hollow muscular organ that pumps the blood through the circulatory system by rhythmic contraction and dilation. In vertebrates, there may be up to 4 chambers, as in humans, with 2 atria and 2 ventricles. Another meaning, the central or innermost part of something. Then I pulled up a metaphysical meaning, and it read, the heart is the locus of physical and spiritual being. It represents the central wisdom of feeling as opposed to the head wisdom of reason. It is compassion and understanding, life-giving and complex. It is a symbol for love. Therefore, I have a saying that I say, my mercy is merciless. I can put that in your notebook or whatever you're going to do with it. My mercy is merciless. Anyway, we use terms concerning the heart like at heart, after one's own heart, by heart, it'll do my heart some good, eat your heart out, have a change of heart about something. But we're going to see what this other stuff says. We're going to go to the synonym finder right quick and read a few things. As figured, organ of circulation, bosom, breast. Inner feelings, soul, spirit. Slang, gut, sentiment, feeling, emotion, sensibility, responsiveness, passion, nature, disposition, temperament. I ain't gonna read them all, but those who have invested in one by now, if you invested in one, so you can get your vocabulary up, it's a million synonyms to the word heart. But for those who do want to inquire and try to expand and grow, you know, y'all look it up and get some more words in your Memorex. So we're gonna go to the seat of the soul. And the reason I'm speeding through this because I want to have enough time to get through the whole thing, you know, with the natural light that's out. Heart. The logics that have served our human sensory exploration of physical reality cannot comprehend evolution without time or the influence of the present upon the past. They cannot meaningfully represent the existence of the soul or a dynamic of energy balancing that generates and links many lifetimes. They reflect no experiential points of reference beyond those of the 5 sensory personality. Therefore, the time has come for a higher order of logic and understanding. That's very true, because I don't live a few lifetimes with people that I'm presently in a lifetime, in this present lifetime with, and what's kind of sad about the whole thing is I remember in these people that I'm interacting with, and some of my family members, some not, they don't even remember. But that's why I can't. That's why I was rebirthed, you know, on the planet, so I can help people remember. Put yourself back together through memory. The logic and understanding of the 5 sensory personality originate in the mind. They are products of the intellect, the higher order of logic and understanding that is capable of meaningfully reflecting the soul's comes from the heart. The creation of this higher order of logic and understanding, therefore, requires close attention to feelings. We don't talk about intuition, We don't talk about integrity. We don't talk about a lot. We don't talk about a lot of things, but now we're talking about where all those things flow through the heart. The central position of the heart in the higher order of logic and understanding of the Christ-conscious human, and the sensitivity to emotional currents that is characteristic of multisensory humans appear as extraneous to the material sense human being, because they do not serve the accumulation of external power. As we have come to seek and will external power consciously, we have come to view feelings as unnecessary appendages like tonsils, useless but capable of creating pain and dysfunction. Thus, the pursuit of external power has led to a repression of emotion. This is true of us as individuals and as a species. The irrelevancy that we attribute to feelings pervades our thinking and our values. We admire the hard-nosed businessman who fires employees for the sake of external power. We reward the military officer who sends himself or others to pain and death for the sake of external power. We honor the statesman who is not swayed by compassion. When we close the door to our feelings, we close the door to the vital currents that energize and activate our thoughts and actions. We cannot begin the process of understanding the effects of our emotions upon us, our environment, and other people, or the effects of the emotions of other people upon themselves, their environment, and us. Without an awareness of our emotions, we cannot associate the effects of anger, sadness, grief, and joy within ourselves or others with their causes. We cannot distinguish between the part of us which is personality and the part of us which is soul. Without an awareness of our feelings, we cannot experience compassion. How can we share the surrenderings and the joys of others if we cannot experience our own? Y'all marinate in that. If we are not intimate with our emotions, we cannot perceive the dynamics that lie behind emotions, the way that these emotions work, or dynamics work, and the ends that they serve. Emotions are currents of energy that pass through us. Awareness of these currents is the first step in learning how our experiences come into being and why. Emotions reflect intentions. Therefore, awareness of emotion leads to awareness of intentions. Every discrepancy between a conscious intention and the emotion that accompany it points directly to a splintered aspect of the self that requires healing. We talked about the splintered personality the other day. If, for example, your intention to marry causes pain instead of joy, following the pain will lead you to unconscious intentions. If your intention to advance in your work causes sorrow instead of satisfaction, following the sorrow will lead you to unconscious intentions. Without an awareness of your emotions, you are not able to experience reverence. We just talked about reverence. Reverence is not an emotion. It is a way of being. It is a way of movement. It is a way of speaking. It is a way that you walk. It is a way that you talk. But the path to reverence is through your heart, and only an awareness of your feelings can open your heart. So a lot of people need their heart chakra unblocked, so it can be open and activated. The higher order of logic and understanding of the Christ consciousness personality reveals connections where no connections are apparent. Everybody that know me to be this person, to be this exact same thing that I'm reading, whether they understood it then or not. It's clearly understood now. Anybody who got a soul know. A materialistic person is not able to process fully the data of its senses. Its perception of reality is segmented, splintered, fractured. Its experience of the universe is partitioned, divided. The materialistic personality can learn that internal dynamics affect perception and formulate this as folklore or cliches such as smiling the world smiles with you. It can discover irregularities within the physical reality and formulate them as laws such as a body in uniform motion will remain in uniform motion until it's acted upon by a force. Yet, the five sensory personality is not able to experience the relationship between these domains. They don't know how to go there. Don't know how to apply that what you know, tote that what you know, and put it and show a person how it's demonstrated and how it's applied in one's life. That's what I'm here to do. Yet, the five sensory personality is not able to experience the relationships between these domains, and therefore is not able to learn about one from the other. It is not able to experience the same richness through each. Science, for example, reflects the divine impulse to become conscious of relationships that connect apparently separate aspects of experience. It is the pinnacle achievement of the five sensory personality, yet within the fruits of science are grasped only with the logic and understanding of five sensory human. Internal dynamics, feelings, and intentions appear to be unrelated to the world of matter. Neither supernovas, nor subatomic decay rates, nor anything in between appear to be affected by what human beings feel or think. When the discoveries of science are comprehended with the logic and understanding of the Christ-conscious human, intimate relationships appear between interdynamics and regularities that govern physical phenomena. To the Christ-conscious human, for example, a body in uniform motion will remain in uniform motion until it is acted upon by a force. Reflects not only a dynamic at work within the realm of time and space and matter, but also a deeper dynamic that works within non-physical reality as well. How is this? One of my friends in infantry officer candidate school was a tall, affable, and pleasant-looking young man from Kentucky named Hank. Hank and I liked each other early on. Several times he lent me his physical strength when my load became too heavy, and I helped him through intellectual obstacles such as calculating artillery trajectories. We shared adventures in our friendship group. Upon graduation, we were assigned to different organizations. I lost track of Hank until I ran into him in Saigon. He had been wounded, and due to the befriending of an Army general, had been assigned to a unit that I came frequently to visit. While serving in Saigon, he met a popular female radio announcer, and they became engaged. It seemed a perfect match, a tall, handsome captain and a beautiful and admired public figure. I again lost track of Hank until I had left the Army. He called me to say that his wife was coming to make an appearance at a resort near me, and he asked me to meet him there. When I met Hank, now a civilian also, he looked troubled and his easygoing manner was dampened. He had changed his name to Hal, he told me, and apologized that his wife was unable to join us. We spoke for a while, and when I asked him what was he doing with himself, he told me, looking for my place in the sun. You know anybody that's looking for their place in the sun, though they seem like they got it all? The next news that I heard of Hank, or Hal, was that he had killed himself. When I was later able to meet his widow, she told me a painful story of marital difficulties, of Hank's despondency, and of his suicide. In the years immediately following the Vietnam War, the rate of suicides among Vietnam veterans were significantly higher than the rates of suicides among non-veterans. Therefore, it is likely that Hank also was affected adversely by his experiences in Vietnam. One shout out for the vets. Yet there was also a more common dynamic at work in my friend. Hank was not the kind of person to ask himself deeper questions about his life. He did not inquire into the deeper meaning of his experience upon the earth, because that would have caused him to change his life, and he did not want to do that. He lived his life without much reflection, and one day he awoke to overwhelming emptiness and powerlessness. Chill. How does my friend's life relate to the first law of motion? A body in uniform motion will remain in uniform motion until it is acted upon by a force. Wow. What does uniform motion mean in terms of a human life? And what is the force that alters that motion? The outward events of Hank's life were not uniform. He grew up on a farm in Kentucky, became a military officer, traveled thousands of miles from home, married a celebrity, and brought his own life to an end. It was the unconscious quality of the flow of Hank's life that was uniform in its motion. Neither the experiences of his childhood, nor military service, nor marriage caused Hank to consider seriously the deeper meaning of his existence. The pains and the joys that flowed through him did not affect his awareness of who he was or what he might become. Hank did not allow himself to follow the experiences of his life to their roots. On the contrary, he feared such a pursuit. As a result, his life flowed uniformly unaware, uniformly unconscious from its incarnation to its release. He experienced the situations that were necessary to the balancing of the energy of his soul, he responded to them in accordance with the conditioning that he had acquired through the karma of his soul and the environment into which he was born. And he created more karma unconsciously with each response. The compassion that Hank brought into the world nurtured many people around him, including me, but he did not allow it to become his center of gravity. He did not allow his own nurturing of others to be able to self-nurture him. He spent his life at attempting to fulfill the wants of his personality and became too attached to those wants to attempt to change them. Thus, Hank's life was embodied in uniform motion that never encountered a force. What is the force that Hank's life did not encounter? Gregory was a white middle-class, college-educated man from the Northeast. His childhood was emotionally difficult, and he grew up angry, manipulative, and bitter. He was incapable of forming relationships, and his violent temper and argumentative nature kept people at a distance. This further increased Gregory's disdain for life and for other people, but he did not stop to ask what role he played in his experiences. I relate to Gregory because I used to be that person. When at last his temper and his disagreeable disposition caused the woman that he was living with to leave, Gregory fell into a deep anguish, not only because of his loss, but also because he recognized in this latest event the repetition of a long-standing pattern in which he found himself in each instance. A vicious cycle, suffering from rejection. He determined to confront both his pain and his pattern. He made arrangements to live in solitude while he searched within himself for the deeper causes of his painful life. When he emerged weeks later, both his perception and his values had changed. He began to soften, and slowly his old mannerisms dropped away. Over the following years, he developed a more sensitive way of being with people. His cynicism gave way to an emerging joy. His anger melted, and other people became central to his life. He is a productive person now, and he draws his strength from the contributions that he makes to his fellows. These changes did not come easily to Gregory. His transition from an angry, manipulative, disdainful person to a more caring and considerate person was a journey through pain that required much courage. Yet by committing himself to that journey, he changed his life. From the point of view of Gregory's consciousness, the uniform flow of Gregory's life was altered significantly by his determination to confront his pain, and was altered further by his determination to cultivate his new perceptions. The force that altered the uniform motion of Gregory's life was his decision to enter into his life consciously. Without this decision, Gregory's life would have continued, and did Hank's, as did Hank's, on the unconscious course that his karma and his responses to the situation that it generated would have created for him. It is appropriate to interpret the first law of motion, which depicts the idealized movement of a physical object. In this way, is the first law of motion, when it is interpreted in this way, merely a metaphor that conveniently serves to describe a non-physical dynamic? Is it more than that, or is it more than that? It is the reflection in physical reality in the world of physical objects and phenomena of a larger non-physical dynamic at work in non-physical domains. This is the physics of the soul. When science and its discoveries are understood with the higher order of logic and understanding of the Christ-conscious human, they reveal, or collective conscious human, they reveal the same richness that life itself displays everywhere, endlessly, every day. The perception of the Christ-conscious personality is not segmented. We call it wholeness. The Christ-conscious human, for example, sees that the paradigms which form the history of science also reveal a history of the way that our species has seen itself in relation to the universe. Ptolemaic astronomy reflects a species that sees itself as the center of the universe. Copernican astronomy reflects a more sophisticated and interdependent perspective of a species that recognizes itself as part of the motion of the universe. Newtonian physics reflects a species that is confident in its ability to grasp the dynamics of the physical world through the intellect. Relativity reflects a species that understands the limiting relationship between the absolute and personalized perceptions of it. And quantum physics reflects a species that is becoming aware of the relationships of its consciousness to the physical world. In other words, from the point of view of the Christ-conscious human, the discoveries of science illuminate both inner and outer experiences. We bring good things to light, physical and non-physical dynamics. A foundational discovery of optics, for example, is that white and black are not colors, like blue, green, and white and red. White is a combination of all colors of the visible spectrum of light, and black is the absence of that spectrum, and therefore white as well. In other words, white is an integration of all the visible forms of radiance, and black is an absence of radiance. Depends on who's looking at it. What non-physical dynamics does this discovery illuminate? We associate white with purity, goodness, righteousness. White is the symbol of positive and protective energy. We dress heroes and heroines in white. White represents wholeness of spirit. We associate God's message in heaven with white. We picture angels in robes of white. We associate black with evil. We dress villains in black. Black is the symbol of destruction. When catastrophe strikes, we call it Black Day. Black represents despair, anger, and rage, which are absence of love, compassion, and forgiveness. We say that a person who feels these things is in a black mood. That depends on who's looking at it. We describe black as yin and sometimes people describe black, it's you do what you want with it. I'll leave that to y'all. We say the dark ages were a time when the light of reason was absent. We call the suffering of a splintered sight a sight without radiance. The dark night of the soul, we call the devil the prince of darkness, and we think of hell as a place where the light of God does not reach. Is the perception of white as an integration or a completion, and black as an absence, therefore limited in inaccuracy and applicability to... Y'all excuse me, I'm gonna start over. Is the perception of white as an integration or a completion, and black as an absence, therefore limited in accuracy or applicability to the physical phenomena of white light and blackness? No. Language, mythology, religion, and science each recognize in white a reflection of integration or wholeness or completion, and in black a reflection of the absence of this. The multi-sensory or Christ-conscious personality sees directly that each of these ways of understanding reflects the same thing. The Christ-conscious personality sees divinity or God or divine intelligence or whatever word it chooses to use for this as light. It sees those through whom divinity flows consciously, such as the Christ, the Buddha, and Krishna, as beings of light. Serapis Bey, we can go on and on. Beings of wholeness, integration, and completeness. Therefore, it sees in the white of science a reflection in time and space and matter of the wholeness, integration, and perfection of timeless divinity. It sees evil, anger, despair, destruction, and rage as the absence of light. Therefore, it sees in the black of science a reflection in the world of physical phenomena of incompleteness of the absence of light. The Christ-conscious personality sees the same relationship, each reflecting the same world wherever it looks. The flesh sensory human cannot see it in this way, and therefore its logic and understanding are not as comprehensive. The nature of wholeness and the lack of it and the effects of each are not discernible through the study of physical phenomena to a personality that is not able to see that both physical phenomena and the relationships between them and non-physical are simultaneously parts and reflections of larger patterns of life. A personality that is not whole lives in a state of splendidness, as represented by individual colors or combinations of them. I got a rainbow aura. Watch my videos. A personality that is not splendid lives in a state of wholeness as represented by white light. A personality that loses touch with its soul, that loses the source of its light, is a personality that has become capable of what we call evil as represented by blackness. People have dark auras. Pay attention. What we call evil is the absence of light, of love. In all cases, when we speak poetically of light, we associate it with purity, insight, and divine inspiration. As we shall see, this type of light is not merely poetical, it is real. A soul can find it difficult to walk the way of light through the course of an incarnation. It can find that learning to live in light is a difficult surgeon, a difficult journey. Through the choices that it makes while it incarnates upon the earth, the choice of anger instead of forgiveness, for example, or condemnation instead of understanding, a soul accumulates negative karma. As it leaves its body, it remains enveloped with the quality of light that it acquired through the choices that it made while it was here upon the earth. When that soul has to create another personality, it will pick right back up where it left off. A personality with limitations of consciousness will find what we call evil more attractive than will one with a more expanded awareness. The temptation to walk that way would be strong for such a personality. All souls are tempted, but an individual with limitations of consciousness will find it more attractive to walk in the magnetic field of fear because it would not recognize fear for what it is. It would accept it as something else, as something that is normal to life. How we understand evil, therefore, is very significant. Evil needs to be understood for what it is, the dynamic of the absence of light. It is not something that one should be prepared to battle, to run from, or to outlaw. Understanding that evil is the absent light automatically requires that we reach for this thing called light. Conscious light is equal to divinity, to divine intelligence. Where there is absence of divine intelligence, the darkness itself maneuvers. It is simply that there is darkness, we stumble in the darkness. The existence of darkness is not permanent. Every soul will eventually be fully enlightened. A soul with no light will always come to no light, because there is so much assistance provided to each soul at all times. There is much light, as we shall see, that is continually surrounding such a soul, even though it may not be able to directly penetrate it, and there is much assistance for the souls that insist upon living in darkness. The encouraged to take even one thought into light is always available. Eventually, they always do. Understanding that evil is the absence of light does not mean that it's inappropriate to respond to evil. What is the appropriate response to evil? The remedy for absence is a presence. Evil is an absence in, therefore it cannot be held with an absence. By hating evil, or one who is engaged in evil, you contribute to that absence of light and not its presence. Hatred of evil does not diminish evil, it increases it. The absence of light causes the personality to suffer. There is pain when you hate, when you bring that suffering upon yourself. Hatred of evil affects the one who hates. Understanding evil is the absence of light does not require you to become passive or disregard evil behavior. If you see a child being abused or people being oppressed, for example, it is appropriate that you do what you can to stop that shit. No more George Floyds. Understanding that evil is the absence of light challenges the perception of power as external. Can the absence be defeated? An evil person can be arrested, but can the evil be arrested? An evil group can be in prison, but can evil be in prison? A compassionate heart is more effective against evil than an army. An army can engage another army, but it cannot engage evil. And a compassionate heart can engage evil directly. It can bring light where there was no light. Understand evil as the absence of light requires you to examine the choices that you make each moment in terms of whether they move toward light or away from it. The higher order of logic and understanding that characterizes the Christ-conscious human permits it to learn more quickly than the materialistic human being. We have evolved as far as the intellect will take us. We have explored the scope and depth of five sensory reality, and we have discovered the limitations of external power. The next phase of our evolution will take us into the experiences of Christ consciousness and the nature of authentic power. This requires heart, and I'm going to help take y'all there. Peace, blessings, wholeness and health, love and light. This is Sawu the God. I enjoyed it. I feel good, and I hope y'all feel good too. Let's go.